Hello, everybody. It's Molly and Chris again, talking about the things that are on our minds right now.
Yeah, that kind of is what this is going to become, isn't it? This is going to be a once a month what Chris and Molly have been bothered about.
Right, we finally have an avenue of the, if only we could tell everybody this. Now we found it, and hooray.
Here we are.
Welcome to our mouthpiece.
What are we talking about this month? What's getting on our nerves?
Today, we are talking about how athletes get in their own way. I think this is going to be a fun one. We really love to be able to collaborate with athletes and enable athletes to achieve their goals. And so it's very frustrating for us as coaches to see athletes who want very badly to achieve their goals being held up by getting in their own way, which we think happens a lot to a lot of us, myself included.
I think we're all guilty of this too. Like triathletes and endurance athletes tend to be type A, very goals-oriented people. And so there's a lot of ways that we can get in our own way when we're training. But let's see. Our number one point here is called 100% green. Molly, what's this about?
So we see this a lot, and I think that's exactly because of the reason that you just mentioned. Triathletes are as personality types, people who like to get everything done, who like to do everything perfectly and check all of the boxes. But what we see is that sometimes people take their training plan more as a dictation or dictatorial, I guess, than it is supportive, which is really what it should be, and feel like they need to make all of their workouts turn green. I can't tell you how many athletes that I have spoken to who are tired, but who have done the math and know exactly how much time they need to achieve in order to make that box turn green. We are asking you to please stop doing that. Don't let the robots be in charge of your training. As your coaches, we are doing our very best to try to take a guess at what you're able to achieve and then hopefully give you slightly more than that, so that if this is a really good week, you have a workout on your calendar that you'll be able to get done that you may not have gotten done in an ordinary week. But we do not expect that you are going to complete 100% of your workouts and with 100% fidelity. Sometimes fatigue gets in the way, life gets in the way. Maybe you had a bad nutrition day and you need to adjust some things before you try that workout. So yeah, that is one of the things that we have on our list of things to talk about today.
Yeah. Yeah, because it just, it like the tail starts wagging the dog. We see this on social media all the time, people talking about make it all green. And I really think that leaves out the athlete. It leaves out who they are and how they're feeling and what their life is like. And my God, we wish that we wrote perfect training plans, but we do not. Every training plan is an approximation and it requires communication and collaboration to be successful. So yeah, go ahead and, let there be a little yellow or orange or red in your training plan each week. I think your coach will actually see you more as a human being because of that.
I think it's actually a good indicator of mental health that you're able to say, this is how I feel today. I am certain about that. And so this workout is not going to be the boss of me and I'm going to let it go. Now, if that happens all the time, then we're talking about a very different problem. But I think that it's a good idea to let your training plan have a little color.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next one. A lot of the time, the reason that athletes begin to burn out when they are trying to do 100% green is because they have not estimated accurately the amount of time that they have available to train. This is a thing that we just every time on our coaching intakes, we ask, how much time realistically do you have every week to train? And I think I usually subtract about 25% from whatever an athlete tells me. Do you do the same thing? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And especially if that number is really huge, if you can tell that the amount of time that they have available to train is equal to their non-working or sleeping hours in a day, that's a pretty good indication that they're being a little overambitious.
Yeah. That they've really pushed that to the legal limit.
How many hours available to train is equal to their non-working or sleeping hours in.
Yeah, and this totally you can make it work in a short amount of time, but quick sprints of training are never helpful or effective. It really doesn't
Right.
work. Like the way that training functions is like, this is consistent work over a long period of time. So like some little guidelines, like you look at your training effective, it really doesn't work. Like the way that training. So like when you factor in the actual workout and getting there and changing, a 1 hour swim for me is very often a 2.5 hour commitment. So if you can start kind of like blocking that around your workouts, we think bikes and runs are at least 1.25 minutes away from where I live, maybe even longer. Want you to have like a healthy, happy life outside of your training. And if you are telling your family, your work, your kids, like your friends, that you only have a 4 hour commitment on a Saturday and then it turns into a 6 hour commitment, that is not going to go very well over the long term.
And I think that also tees up our next section, which is, or our next recommendation for this section, which is to have a check-in with your family once a week, or with the people in your life once a week, to make sure that you're being honest and upfront about what your commitments are. Because I think a lot of times we try to be, sneaky is the wrong word, but overly optimistic with how long our training is going to take and how much it's going to take out of us. So if you know that you have a 4 hour ride that will likely take you 5 or 6 hours to complete, and have a 4 hour ride that will likely take you 5 or 6 hours to complete and will leave you feeling less than optimal for the rest of the day, it's our commitments that day, because you may end up dropping the ball and you may end up overextending yourself. And so if there is any other, backfill that you can put in and like try to get some support on days when you feel like you might need it, or to maybe move things around so that your big commitments don't fall on the same day as your big training days, that can be a conversation you have with your family and ideally also with your coach. So if you're honest about what your commitments are and where training falls into those, that leaves you in a really good place to make some adjustments and hopefully leave yourself with the best possible outcome for all of these, instead of selling yourself short in each of them, which is what we see pretty often.
That's such a great point too, that like you're not 100% full energy after a workout, so you can't just like bang out a 4 or 5 hour ride and then be like, I'm here, I'm present, I'm energetic. Like, no, you're going to be tired. I think that's a really good point, that we forget that we aren't robots. Like, I think triathletes and endurance athletes think that they're robots, but like, you are not going to be yourself after a 4 to 6 hour bike ride, and like, you need to remember that your family and friends are part of your support structures.
That's right. You are a hungry, cranky machine at the end of a 4 to 6 hour bike ride.
But what can we do to be less hungry and cranky after our workouts, particularly in this early part of the year, Molly?
I think one of the things that we can do, well, after our workouts, we can eat and rest. But one of the things that we can do as we are thinking about those workouts and approaching those workouts is making sure that we are taking the effort seriously. And by taking the effort seriously, I mean going easier during those workouts. A lot of times right now we see our athletes complaining that like their easy workouts just don't feel like they're doing anything. And they are doing something, and they are doing something critical. And that is our next thing that we are going to complain about here today. It's that our athletes are training too hard.
Yeah, they really are, especially at this point of the year. I don't know if it's because people are like excited to be back at it, but I spend so much time being like, please ride easier. Please ride easier. Please don't ride at 74% of FTP just because the workout says that you can be 55 to 75% of FTP. Like, back it off. They should. Everybody asks me like, what does easy feel like? And I'm like, it feels easy. Like, you're not really having to focus on the work. And that's, it's much simpler than I think people kind of make it out to be, which is that it's going to be that this easy should feel like a different kind of thing. No, it just feels easy. It feels very achievable.
Right. Right, exactly. If you're training moderate all the time, I love this. That means that you are expressing your current fitness. You are not building towards something. And right now, this is not the time to be showing what we're capable of. This is the time to be preparing to show what we're capable of, and to be really like building that fitness and establishing that base that is going to be the foundation of future successes this season. If you start to look for success right now, and it's really easy to do that because for a lot of us, our FTP is lower at this point in the season. Our threshold pace on the run is slower. Our CSS may have fallen to a pace that we are not as comfortable with. And so we're chasing numbers that we're comfortable with instead of allowing those numbers to come to us. And that is just another situation that leaves athletes in a position where they're giving up their goals earlier in the season by trying to chase them too aggressively.
Yeah, totally. It's that whole like people want to be fast now. And it's like, no, like you want to be fast in June, June, like
exactly.
July, August, like,
exactly.
And it just, like every workout should not be a test. And if you are going out and you're training moderate or moderately hard or hard all the time, that takes a lot out of you, and you're going to have to recover from that. And so what we end up seeing is like athletes that are training too hard at this time of the year, they put in a good week and then they're shattered, and they have to take like a week, not off, but a week of light training. And you see this sawtooth pattern of fitness that they just kind of hover in for a long period of time. And that's all just wasted time. Like we want your fitness to look like a stock market. Like it should sort of go up with little adjustments as you go through the year. But if you're training too hard at this point of the year, if you're doing lots of tempo work, you're probably going to feel okay now, but you're not going to progress towards those goals that you've set for later in the year. So please back off.
Yeah, if you hear one thing from us, it's don't let the robots be in charge of you, and go easier than you think the robots might be saying.
Yeah, and then, that's a great way to wrap everything up here. Don't let the robot be in charge. Go easier. And talk to your support people around you. Like those, I think, are probably our 3 tips for not getting in your own way here in the early season.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us for this month's session of things that are on our minds.
Yeah, maybe that's what we can call it. Stuff that's on our minds, things
right.
like that. But thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye.